Let's take a look at an important tool that the special operations community uses on a daily basis to minimize the inherent risks associated with their dangerous missions and lifestyle. It's called risk management. A few years ago, it occurred to me that I had 6 helmets. One for my road bike, one for my mountain bike, my Army helmet, my motorcycle helmet, my full-face motorcycle helmet, and my snowboard helmet. I'm not sure how many helmets you have, but having 6 helmets in my garage was kind of an indicator that I should reevaluate my lifestyle. In the special operations community, we do a lot of dangerous things. It's very probable that you're going to get hurt. I remember someone getting angry with me for driving on a snowy day in Fayetteville, North Carolina. But it didn't seem that dangerous to me after a full day of building explosive charges out of C4. Let's take a look at the way the US military does risk management, and then we're going to work through a few examples. US military risk management technically has 5 steps, but as with most things that the military does, they make it overly confusing. So I've reordered and renamed them to make it easier to understand. The first thing we do is identify risks. Then we assess each risk. Then we develop ways to mitigate each risk. Identifying risks or hazards is simple, dare I say common sense. Here is where you list what could go wrong. We know that if you're going to jump out of an airplane, at night you are going to have a lot of risks or hazards. You could have a parachute malfunction. The Air Force could drop you off in the wrong location. And if the winds are too strong, you could break a leg while conducting your parachute landing fall. Assessing the hazard is to decide how probable this hazard is and how bad it would be if it actually happens. Probabilities for risks or hazards are unlikely, seldom, occasional, likely, or frequent. Effects of a risk or hazard are negligible, moderate, critical, or catastrophic. Parachute malfunctions are very seldom, but their effects could be tragic. The Air Force frequently drops paratroopers off at the wrong location, and when it does, many of them get hurt landing in the trees or on buildings. Parachuting is dangerous, especially at night, and if the winds are too strong, paratroopers can break their legs, backs, or necks. Breaking a leg happens frequently, but the results are usually just moderate. Let's move on to developing ways to mitigate risk. To mitigate the effects or probability of a parachute malfunction, we want only qualified riggers to pack and prepare parachutes. Jump masters will conduct parachute inspections before every jump, and the jump master will go through jump procedures prior to every single jump. To mitigate the effects of the Air Force having a GPS mistake, the Drop Zone Safety Officer, or DZSO, or the Pathfinder, will mark the drop zone, and the jump master will visually identify the drop zone as the aircraft approaches. To mitigate the effects of the wind, the DZSO will take assessments of how fast the wind is on the drop zone. If the winds are too strong, the jump will be canceled or postponed. Let me highlight something about military risk assessment. Dangerous missions and training events are always approved by senior officers who accept the risk. If you are doing a routine parachuting operation, the team leader does the risk assessment, but the company commander signs and approves the risk assessment. He is stating that most or all of the potential risks have been mitigated, and he is accepting responsibility for the safety of the men and women jumping out of the airplane. If you are doing a nighttime raid to kill or capture a high-value target, the mission and risk approval authority might be the colonel or a general, sometimes even the president. Once a risk assessment is approved, the leaders will work together to implement the controls, supervise the safety mitigation efforts, and continue to evaluate the plan. A lot of safety nerds out there will tell you that safety is number 1, but it isn't. In military operations, security is priority 1. Sometimes you just have to do dangerous things to accomplish the mission, but if you do it right, you can always find ways to mitigate risk to the force and risk to the mission. Let's move on to a couple of examples, starting with my helmet collection. I like to have fun in my spare time and have potentially dangerous hobbies. The probability of crashing on my motorcycle, my mountain bike, or my snowboard is very likely. The effects could be catastrophic. So to mitigate these risks of hurting myself permanently, I wear as much safety gear as possible, to include my helmet. Risk management is that simple. I like to eat at nice restaurants during our weekly date night with my wife, but even something as simple as a date night has some risks. What if we get into a car accident driving to the restaurant? The probability of a car accident is unlikely, but the effects could be catastrophic. I therefore mitigate the risks by driving a safe car with lots of airbags. I obey the traffic rules and I do not violate the 10 p.m. rule. What if I get robbed while parking my car near the restaurant? The probability of getting robbed is unlikely, but the effects would be catastrophic. I could mitigate this risk by parking somewhere well lit and close by. I could carry a gun or pepper spray. What if the waiter has an infectious disease? The probability of getting COVID is unlikely, but the effects are critical. I can mitigate this risk by wearing a mask and using hand sanitizer. Now let's talk about taking my family on a vacation to Mexico. Hazards include diarrhea, crime, lost luggage, and valuables. The probability for getting diarrhea is likely. The effects would be moderate. To mitigate the effects of diarrhea, my family and I will only drink bottled water. We will not eat any raw foods, and we will finish off the evening with a digestive beverage like Jägermeister. Yummy. We will also bring anti-diarrheal and pain relief medicines. How about crime? The probability for crime in Mexico is likely. The effects would be catastrophic. To mitigate the danger of crime, we will not bring flashy clothes or handbags or jewelry on our trip to Mexico. We will not bring a lot of cash. We will also not visit bad neighborhoods and stick to only hotel-approved excursions. We will not go anywhere at night and never alone. The probability of lost luggage is seldom, but the effects would be moderate. To mitigate the effects of lost luggage, we will leave our valuables at home, and any valuables that we do bring with us on the vacation, for example our cell phones and our laptops or passports, we will keep in our carry-on bags while traveling and then lock them up in the hotel safe once we get to our room. We already speak Spanish, so we don't have to worry about the communication barrier. But if you are traveling to a foreign country, it is always smart to memorize 20 or 30 key phrases or words in the host language. We will keep a list of the address and location of the nearest U.S. Embassy and other important safety numbers in our wallets. And then we'll also keep all of this information programmed into our cell phones. As you can see, risk management is not rocket science, but you should take a few minutes to deliberately think about it and plan for it. Identify risks and then figure out ways to mitigate these risks. After you have done all of this, you may find that it is still too dangerous and that you must postpone or cancel your event. Or you can simply accept the risk and move out and enjoy. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something new and are better able to mitigate risk for yourself, your business, your team, and/or your family. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to keep learning and to forward to a friend who needs to see this. Life is a special operation. Are you ready for it?
Invincible.